Chapter 1, The Late 1700s through Mid-1800, History of Changing Attitudes toward and Practices of Punishing Crime gave way to Private Punishment of the Soul. On March 2, 1757, the streets of Paris had an unpleasant spectacle. Robert-François Damiens, a domestic servant, was publicly executed before a baying mob for his trying to kill the French king, Louis XV. Damiens was to be divided into 4 equal parts, his limbs were pulled by 4 horses driven the opposite side. But when the arms and legs refused to detach from Damiens' body, the executioner got out his knife and sheared through the tendons and tissue before the horse completed the dismemberment. But the execution was the last of its kind. In the 18th century in Europe, punishment as a public spectacle wasn't current practice. Instead, a different way to punishment became the new standard. It was redesigned. Now it happens behind closed doors and its workings were set to a timetable. It was about the aim of training people into correct behavior. In the 19th century, fewer than 100 years after Damiens' execution, the new penal style was codified in texts such as French politician Léon Fauchet's rules for the house of young prisoners in Paris. At 5 in the morning, their day just started, when they were woken up by repeated cracks in a drum. By 5:45, they were at work. They ate their food at 10. Teaching began at 20 minutes to 11. They worked again from 1 o'clock until 7. Then, at 7:30, the cells were locked for a night curfew. In prison, the nature of punishment is taken away from social view rather than publicly displayed. It was no longer a public indication of the will of sovereign governmental powers. It was now one in which bureaucratic penalties were fused with defined imprisonments and stringent schedules. It was to reform someone's entire personality in order to prevent crime in the future. Where once corporal punishment and pain had been central to ideas of punishment, now here had been a transition from a focus on the body to a focus on the soul. It's very easy to think, as many historians have, that this represents some sort of development, that the declining severity of punishment indicates a humane advance. But the author thinks they have the wrong end of the stick. The purpose of punishment had changed. The objective was no longer thinking of crime as an injury. It was now to target hearts and minds, thoughts and will. It needs to be reformed in order for the code to be repaired.